today's anime review, we get to cover another Gundam anime title. Once again, for today's anime review is Mobile Suit Gundam The 8th MS Team Miller's Report. Mobile Suit Gundam The 8th MS Team Miller's Report, however, it's basically one of those like a recap on on these episodes of Mobile Suit Gundam The 8th MS Team series as well. And yes, this was released on as a movie recap version, on the 1st of August in 1998, which is probably around the same time as Mobile Suit Gundam The 8th MS Team series was probably airing at the time as well. And yes, this anime is basically like movie is definitely what you have to call this anime movie, particularly like a recap episodes from the original from Mobile Suit, the episodes, which are episodes 6 and 7 of the Mobile Suit Gundam, the 8th MS Team series, as well, what you expect as well, by using minutes of footage of how they wanted to make it as like a 55-minute recap compilation movie, particularly as well, as it was to many other anime compilation movies in general, such as Mobile Suit Gundam movies, as well as Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam, a new translation, which we'll get to that in just a moment, particularly as well. Yeah, this anime movie takes place of how Shiro Amada and Aina Sahalin have been rescued in the mountains as well. Hell, the icy mountains thing, which is probably in episode 6 as well, until he was investigated by this woman named Alice Miller, who may seem nice at first, but may be a little quirky at this, so to speak, as well. And also, particularly, they accuse how they investigating him as basically like he's basically accusing Shiro Amada as a spy, particularly when he first met Aina Sahalin as well. If you ever either watched the movie or the original Mobile Suit Gundam the 8th MS Team anime series in particular, for some reason as well, and yet probably is how this all started just to begin with as well. And yeah, it's just how it is what it is, particularly for Mobile Suit Gundam the 8th MS Team Miller's Report. Had a lot to do with how it's given in the title as well. If this was supposed to be like a feature film, but nope, it's basically a recap episode just to begin to deal with. And yes, it's probably for those basically have seen the show as well. I mean, probably, for my opinion, for this anime movie, yeah, that's probably one of the, you have to call like a recap episode, probably where they use footage from episodes 6 and 7 of the Mobile Suit Gundam 8th MS Team series as well. When it comes to 90s anime, probably, because, it's probably becoming a household, because Gundam is probably a household name. But anyway, as well, the point I'm trying to make is that this takes place in the Universal Century timeline, which is the Universal Century 0079, which is the 1 year the war rages on, and where Shiro Amada and his units, the 8th MS Team, have continuing their struggle against the Zeon forces in the jungles of Southeast Asia. But in the recent events have to put them under close security by the Federation leaders. Alice Miller, who is an officer of the Federation Intelligence Division, has been dispatched to ascertain the truth behind the series of events, particularly between episodes 6 and 7 of the Mobile Suit Gundam 8th MS Team series. Wow. Just, wow, they didn't even seem basically how just to begin with as well. Particularly, just because he was basically the unit for the classified Gundam as well, particularly just because he's been investigated by the Federation and Intelligence Division officer when he was encountering with a Zeon pilot. Yeah, because Aina Sahalin was basically like a female Zeon pilot as well. And yeah, they're basically like accusing him of meeting a Zeon spy, particularly of how it was the thing, particularly of how the sheer moments, probably, which is so different than any other anime out there, and yet probably of how what they had a lot to do with for this of certain sort of event ways, probably the most shocking is at the beginning on his inquiry, when how they accused Shiro Amada of being suspected of being a spy when he met Aina Sahalin as well, was probably how something shit total happens, probably, of what is going on in Mobile Suit Gundam, the 8th MS Team Miller's Report, have a lot to do, of how they debriefed as well, of what were they thinking, probably. I mean, what does it mean by all this as well? Of how basically, and also they saved Kiki's village from the Setzion spot-ons as well, when how they expected it. That's probably in episode 7, but in the end, Shiro Amada was telling his 8th MS team to move on out. So basically, when he was not being executed by Alice Miller, probably, or Miss Miller, in the meaning other ways, one way or the other, of how the firing squad would have probably got to this, probably, of how, you see what's going on if you ever seen this as well. And yeah, that's just how it is, probably, of how expecting of how Shiro Amada's thoughts haven't changed. When Alice Miller was pointing a gun at him, how the firing squad had a lot to do, probably, when they were accusing him of being suspected as a spy with a Z on, which has well. Now, if this was Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam, a new translation, then I would have been compelled for the anime compilation film week, if to have it on to start to begin with. But it's Mobile Suit Gundam, the 8th MS Team Miller's Report. Yeah, this is probably one of those anime movies that have recaps, which are basically episodes between episodes 6 to 9 as well, particularly. And yeah, this is probably of how you expect for an anime movie that has using recap footages of episodes 6 to 9, 7, either that or episodes 8 or 9. Any episode, and probably the other way, not the other way around, of how you would have is that it's just probably how if you would expect ever to start to begin with as well. And probably the most shocking thing is probably that they move on out, because this means is that Shiro Amada is not a Zeon spy when Alice Miller was accusing him when she was pointing a gun at him in this part. But he was lucky that the bullet didn't kill him, and he says he's gonna prove it, that the way of thinking isn't wrong, and the determination is admirable. And then she was saying that the enemy he's in face is now the entire world. But in the end, he tells the 8th team to move out, and then they're head off, particularly in the end, until probably of how, and then you end this anime movie with the song, which I think it goes by the name, which is probably the song titled as Ain no Tobira, performed by Chihiro Yonikura. Was how after this ends, as probably for what Mobile Suit Gundam the 8th MS team had to do, probably. And yes, when Mobile Suit Gundam the 8th MS team Miller's Report was aired on Cartoon Network, it's basically like a half-hour episode, but it wasn't a half-hour episode. It was basically 55 minutes longer, as intended as well. And you expect from an anime like Mobile Suit Gundam the 8th MS team. I mean, the story is basically interesting, but they have the new characters introduced particularly as well, of how you're expecting watching an anime movie with some recaps by using episodes from the series, as like Mobile Suit Gundam the 8th MS team, for example, as well. And yeah, it's probably one of the best anime as well. But there is no story to this, but there is some recap footages from 40 to 45 minutes of recaps from every episodes, because they try to recap some of them to make it as the events of how it takes place as well, especially these flashbacks, probably. Most of the time, this also contains some flashbacks from the first episode, where it has some few small additional scenes sprinkled through with a new character that only appears there. I mean, it doesn't really add much to the story of how, if they were ever to focus on what story, how they ever do for Mobile Suit Gundam the 8th MS team Miller's Report as well, to satisfactory results of, unlike any other anime out there of creative work that'll basically stand the test of time. There has been other certain anime movies with using recaps for episodes from the series, because they have done it on different titles, and 2 or less than the satisfactory results as well. But that's how the real question is that how does those 45 minutes of how they use recap episodes from Mobile Suit Gundam the 8th MS Team as a compilation movie, which is Miller's report of how they do this, which has a lot to do with for Mobile Suit Gundam the 8th MS Team. Yeah, they're basically like having flashbacks that are basically are footages from episodes from the series as well. And due to the fact that this was made by the company Sunrise, which is known for their work on many anime in general as well. But that's just how it is as well. In the story, there is no story, but it's basically like a recap as well. I mean, the characters are great as well. I mean, the enjoyment, I think I find it's okay in my opinion. But if you want to see a Gundam anime, just watch the 12 episode of series of Mobile Suit Gundam: The 8th MS Team just to begin with. In my opinion, this compilation movie has seen the show. But if you only watch this, we'll get to that in just a moment as well, because this is an okay anime compilation movie in my opinion as well. So that's going to be it for my anime review on Mobile Suit Gundam, the 8th MS Team Miller's Report. Thank you for watching, but before we go, here's my thoughts on this. When I first watched this on DVD, because I've seen this over and over and over again, I thought this was supposed to be like a feature film, but it's a compilation movie where they use recaps from the episodes of the series. But if you just watched it without watching the series, it's like you're jumping right into the pond and you do not know what's going on as well. But it's okay in my opinion.